Hey.
Can the legislators on Zoom hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
And can the interpreters hear us?
Yes.
Cruz, you can hear us?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. The June 11th, 2024 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart is present. Ms. Bartholomew McCoy.
Here.
Ms. Bartholomew McCoy is present. Mr. Baines. Mr. Baines is present. Mr. Blankley is excused. Ms. Bonnick. Ms. Bonnick is present. Mr. Brew. Mr. Brew is present. Mr. Burgess. Mr. Burgess is present. Mr. Chardy. Mr. Chardy is present. Mr. Colby. Mr. Colby is present. Mr. Cruz.
Presente.
Mr. Cruz is present. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman is present. Mrs. DeFlorio. Mrs. DeFlorio is present. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer is present. Mr. Frazier. Mr. Frazier is present. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman is present. Ms. Hugh Smith. Ms. Hugh Smith is present. Mr. Johns. Mr. Johns is present. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller is present. Mr. Long. Mr. Long is present. Mr. Mafucci. Mr. Mafucci is present. Mr. McCabe. Mr. McCabe is present. Ms. McIntyre. Ms. McIntyre is present. Mr. Milne. Mr. Milne is present. Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris is present. President Roman.
Here.
President Roman is present. Mr. Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair is present. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith is present. Ms. Vasquez Simmons. Ms. Vasquez Simmons is present. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson is present.
Thank you. Please stay seated. I would like to introduce Father Bob Worth from the St. Francis Xavier Cabrini Parish, who has been invited by Legislator Dondorfer to lead us in a moment of prayer.
Thank you for the privilege. This prayer is going to be in 3 parts. Do not get nervous. Each one is about 1 minute and 15 seconds. When I was searching for a prayer for tonight, I came up with this little piece of paper that was attached to something, and I said, oh, this will be nice to share tonight. This is the first 1 minute and 15 seconds. What it is I think, a nice description of the kind of values we should have in approaching these kinds of meetings. So here they are. Human dignity is the intrinsic value of a person created in the image and likeness of God and redeemed by Christ. Solidarity refers to the virtue enabling the human family to share fully in the treasure of material spiritual goods. Subsidiarity is the coordination of society's activities in a way that supports the internal life of local communities. And finally, the common good is the totality of social conditions, allowing persons to achieve their communal and individual fulfillment. Let us pray. Moving forward as one body into a future filled with possibility, we walk without maps, but we walk confidently, because we walk with hope, because we have chosen to be lights for each other while on the way. We travel forward along a way we have not gone before. We travel as one who is led, arms outstretched, as one who is called forth to life. We travel in need, dependent on God for strength, for assurance, dependent on one another, God's instruments for love. Leaving known paths behind us, we choose to journey forward in faith and service. As the journey brought us here, so now we begin it anew in company. And may our God who calls us forward bless our journey. And now I have a prayer in Spanish. Oración por las autoridades civiles. a prayer for civil authorities. Señor Jesucristo, Rey del universo, mira con misericordia a aquellos que nos gobiernan. Concédela a nuestro presidente y a su administración la gracia de conocer y hacer tu voluntad. Permíteles servir a todo el pueblo en verdad y justicia. Help us to serve the people in truth and justice. Inspira a nuestros congresistas con el valor de hacer leyes para el bien de todos, más bien que para unos pocos. Da a nuestros jueces tu espíritu de sabiduría y comprensión, para que puedan discernir la verdad y administrar imparcialmente la ley, y permite que todos contribuyamos para hacer que nuestra forma de gobierno continúe funcionando. En el nombre del Padre, y del Hijo, y del Espíritu Santo. Have a phenomenal meeting tonight.
Thank you, Father. Thank you. I'd like to present you, Father Worth, a certificate on the behalf of the legislature. Thank you y gracias por todo. Now please stand as Legislator Morris will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Legislator Morris. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We now move on to the approval of agenda. Your copies of Day 6, May 14th, 2024 are available through Novus Agenda. Without exception, this journal will stand approved as submitted. Moving on to announcements, and before we begin, I'd like to congratulate our second Assistant Deputy Clerk, Carlton Nuff, on his graduation from the University of Rochester. Thank you. Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are available on Novus Agenda as well as online. Next, proclamations. There are several proclamations scheduled for this evening. Mr. Clerk.
Would Talia and Livingston Walker please come forward? Also, legislators Rose Bonnick, Ricky Frazier, William Burgess, Virginia McIntyre, and President Yversha Roman.
The Monroe County Legislature recognizes Livy's Jamaican Restaurant, whereas it is the sense of this legislature to honor and celebrate the people and organizations that make Monroe County a better place to live. And whereas, attendant to such concern, the legislature is justly proud to honor Livy's Jamaican Restaurant. And whereas Livy's Jamaican Restaurant began as Livy's Import Market when Livingston Walker, along with his wife Talia, first opened their doors in 2005. Livy's Import Market had a small portion of the grocery store dedicated to takeout foods. And whereas the restaurant's first location was in Rochester's 19th Ward neighborhood, today, Livy's Jamaican Restaurant resides on Howard Road in Gates. And whereas Livy's Jamaican Restaurant hosts Livy's Family Fun Day annually for all to enjoy. The Family Fun Day was first held in 2014 and has been beloved by the community since. The event consists of live musical performances, soccer games, cricket games, and children's activities and giveaways. And whereas, in addition to Livy's Family Fun Days, the restaurant frequently hosts community events such as Festive Fridays and the annual Caribbean Link-Up for the Rochester Jamaican organization's Caribbean American Heritage Month. And whereas Caribbean American Heritage Month is a time to recognize the contributions of Caribbean Americans have made to the fabric of our society, and to appreciate the culture of Caribbean Americans throughout the community. And whereas members of the community line up for a taste of their staple dishes, such as curried goat, oxtail soup, jerk chicken, red snapper, and saltfish. Livy himself had been seen greeting customers and catching up with regulars. And whereas Livy's Jamaican restaurant has been a pillar in the community, they have provided the people of Monroe County with authentic, delicious Jamaican cuisine, all while remaining a warm, welcoming environment for all. And now, therefore, let it be known that we, Iversha Roman, President, Rose Bonnick, Legislator District 27, Ricky Frazier, Legislator District 28, William Burgess, Legislator District 29, and Virginia McIntyre, District 4, do hereby honor Livy's Jamaican Restaurant on this 11th day of June 2024.
Thank you. Thank you. On behalf of the Livy's family, we, my wife and I, Talia, proudly accept this award. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would Virgil Harris please come forward? Also, legislators Rose Bonnick, Ricky Frazier, and President Iversha Roman.
The Monroe County Legislature recognizes Pop Style International, whereas it is a sense of this legislature to honor and celebrate the people and organizations that make Monroe County a better place to live. And whereas, attendant to such concern, the legislature is justly proud to honor Pop Style International. And whereas Pop Style International, owned by Virgil Harris, has been serving the community for years and has withstood many trials and tribulations to continue to provide Monroe County's residents with warm, authentic Jamaican food. And whereas Virgil Harris learned to cook from his parents and grandparents in Jamaica, he devoted himself to the success of his restaurant, Pop Style International, and promoted Jamaican culture through his culinary art. And whereas annually, Virgil and his staff provide free warm meals to anyone who wants them. This beloved community event is a tradition in the neighborhood, and Virgil ensures that no one is ever turned away. And whereas Virgil has also dedicated his time to helping the children of the community. Every year, he donates hundreds of backpacks and supplies to school-aged children. And whereas Virgil hosted a fundraiser for 2 Jamaican high school students to help them attend college by selling his most loved meals, and in 2021, the 2 students graduated having earned their degrees. And whereas Pop Style International and Virgil Harris have been serving the community for 15 years, his entrepreneurial spirit and philanthropic heart continue to inspire community members throughout Monroe County. And now, therefore, let it be known that we, Iversha Roman, President, Rose Bonnick, Legislator District 27, and Ricky Frazier, Legislator District 28, do hereby honor Pop Style International on this 11th day of June 2024.
Good evening to everyone. Just want to say thank everyone for supporting Popstar throughout the years. And I just want to say I do appreciate everything you guys do for Popstar. Thank you.
Would Don Alhart please come forward? Also, legislators Michael Udelson, Steve Brew, County Executive Adam J. Bello, and President Iversha Roman.
The Monroe County Legislature recognizes Don Alhart, whereas Don Alhart graduated from Penfield High School and earned his bachelor's degree from Ithaca College. During college, he worked as a news reporter and DJ for WKTO Radio in Ithaca. And whereas in the summer of 1962, Don Allhart began work as a relief engineer at WROC TV. 3 summers later, he was hired as a reporter for 13 WHAM, formerly known as WOKR TV, Channel 13. After the completion of his bachelor's in 1966, Don returned to 13 WHAM, where he worked as the anchor of news at 6 for 58 years. And whereas Don Allhart is an active member of his community and has been engaged in volunteer work for more than 6 decades. He has been a member of the Rochester Rotary Club since 1976 and was the president from 1987 to 1988. From 2002 to 2003, Don was the Rotary District Governor, responsible for 67 clubs in Greater Rochester and the southern tier of New York State. Don was honored with the 60th Annual Rochester Rotary Award, the community's oldest civic award. And whereas throughout his career, Don has won numerous awards and been the recipient of various honors. In 2010, Don was inducted into the New York State Broadcaster Association's Hall of Fame. He has been awarded the prestigious Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in TV News 5 times during his career. In 2002, Don received the Tikkun Olam Award from the Jewish Community Center of Rochester. Don has been awarded the Mass Media Communicator Award from SUNY Brockport, the Ithaca College Alum Award, and the VFW Humanitarian Award from the Rochester Police Rosewood Club. And whereas Don authored Sibley's Christmas Adventure, a book for children, all the proceeds from which continue to benefit the ARC Foundation of Monroe County. And whereas in 1970, Don married his wife Mary, and together they raised 3 children in Penfield. Today, Don and Mary live in Pittsford and have 6 grandchildren. And whereas Don has been an iconic voice in the region for decades, he will be remembered as someone who cared about our community deeply and gave back to his community through his dedication to volunteerism and his long-esteemed career. And now, therefore, let it be known that we, the Monroe County Legislature, do hereby honor Don Allhart on this 11th day of June, 2024.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I stand here looking out at my neighbor down the street, Howard Mapucci, Rachel Barnhart, a former co-worker, and it reminds me of all the wonderful times. The biggest reminder I've had tonight, first, the first two proclamations and meeting people back in the other room, I'm hungry. That sounds good. But secondly, on the wall in the other room is the Board of Supervisors. In 1966, the year I started, County Manager Gordon Howe at the time, and that was the year of transition to the legislature in '67. I saw Tom Ryan in the back row. He was representing one of the wards. Thank you for this, and thank you for a trip down memory lane. I covered many events in this chamber and the old City Hall right next door. And to share this tonight and be reminded, and thank you, County Executive, for the key to the county that I received as well. I thank you very much for these honors.
Legislature can have its picture taken to get the medal. Recess granted. We can all come up here. Take this.
Remember, this is just a 20-second meal on the late news. I will see you down the street.
That concludes the proclamations and our recess. We will now come to order. In order to recess the legislature to hold a series, of public hearings. I now declare open the public hearings on resolution entitled Monroe County's current grant funding from New York State Office of Community Renewal for Community Development Block Grant CARES Act. Funding for project number 1705 CVS B69-22 Working Capital Program totaling $2.970 million.
We have one speaker signed up for this public hearing. You will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature on this public hearing, and please conclude when the timer sounds. And our public speaker is Kevin Lockhart.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kevin Lockhart. I'm a county taxpayer. I live in Webster. I've lived in Monroe County all my life and grew up in the south of the city of Rochester, to the south of it. And I just thought I'd do you all, just be polite and tell you why I'm voting no on the CARE Act. And it's because I think that it's a rubber-stamped amnesty bailout package for the government, and they intend to spend it on training and filling positions in healthcare to correct for the disastrous COVID response meltdown that they had. And it was signed off by the executives at Genesee Planning Council, who are double dipping as other administrators in the government. So I just think that this is something I don't want my state or the federal tax money going toward, as far as my part of it is concerned. And I think that there should be more public hearings held on it after it's passed. And we need to be very scrupulous about seeing the receipts and who's involved in the spending. And I don't think that this money should be going toward bailing out the government. Thank you.
There's no one else registered for this public hearing.
There being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I now declare open the public hearing on resolution entitled Submissions of County Development 2024 Annual Action Plan Grant Application to United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD.
We have one speaker signed up for the public hearing this evening. You will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature on this public hearing. And our speaker is Kevin Lockhart.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Kevin Lockhart. I'm a county taxpayer. I've lived in Monroe County all my life, and I just thought I'd do you the courtesy of coming here today and tell you why I'm voting no on the annual action plan, because I think the associations between the non-governmental associations and the government are way too close and tight-knit, and there's not a lot of insight that I can gain into the operations and the processes, and there's never enough receipts, and there's never enough public hearings. And more importantly, this is a associate of the program is affiliated with Pathstone, which is a very fringe extracurricular organization that is screwing with the curriculum in the county schools system through all the political activists. I think they call it anti-racism activism in the classroom, which is, I think, inappropriate to bring the politics in the classroom. So for its association with Pathstone, I am voting no on this annual action plan. Thank you.
No one else is signed up to register for this, or no one else registered to speak for this public hearing.
Okay. There being no one else, I declare this public hearing closed. The June 11th, 2024 meeting of the legislature is convened. There are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. We will now hold the public forum. Thank you to everyone who has signed up for public forum. We ask that everyone maintain decorum during this time. We will not tolerate any disruptions during this meeting from the gallery. A warning will be issued before a deputy will be asked to remove you from the gallery. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Mr. Clerk.
If you require assistance, a deputy is available to assist you in approaching the lectern. I will call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature. Please do not bring up any signs or props. Do not single out any legislator, and please conclude when the buzzer sounds. Thank you for your cooperation. The first 3 speakers are Paul Farcella, Mark Patrick, and Elizabeth Henderson.
Crime continues to plague our society. Much stronger punishments are a must. All weapons should be confiscated from the smallest knife up. Crimes against children, murders, and serious thefts should be punished by life in prison, no parole possible. Some form of humiliation, such as stockades, should be put in to make it even more severe. Less serious crimes, such as petty theft, etc., should be punished by a minimum of 5 years in prison, plus some form of humiliation. The man in the news recently who sexually harassed children in stores should be given life in prison with no parole. He should also be given hard labor in jail, as well as some form of humiliation. All others like him should get that too. Strong deterrence alone will stop crime.
Good evening, legislators. My name is Mark Forrest Patrick, and I reside at 74 Arbordale Avenue, 14610. I am the owner of Tuxedo's Canine Training Camp at 892 East Ridge Road. I've been in the pet services industry for over 20 years, and I'm here tonight to bring forward my concern for our dog community of Monroe County. Have you visited the City of Rochester Animal Services lately? The facility is outdated, inadequate for a population of our community, and they are understaffed with no veterinarian. In our county, rescues are overflowing with dogs. Dogs are roaming our streets, and our shelters are at capacity. And I'm here to plead with the county legislators. We are in a crisis. First, it was the lack of a veterinary emergency services, and now it is overpopulation due to backyard breeders, rescues that are not licensed with a 501c, and bringing dogs in from around the world. On June 1st, I counted 18 dogs roaming the streets of our county alone. Some of them had collars, some of them didn't. When residents don't have a place to surrender their dogs, for whatever the reason may be, they are now letting them wander freely in our communities. This is a safety concern for all of us and for all of our children. You might ask, what can you do? We need assistance in expanding our community shelters, excuse me, and develop low-cost spay and neuter services for our county residents. We need to provide low-cost vaccination clinics for our county residents. Lollipop Farm offers services, however, they are on the east side of the county. We need something on the west side of the county for our West County residents. At the time of staffing, is that for me? Yes. Okay, sorry, I'll wrap it up real quick. At this time, the staffing at our local veterinarians and our shelter, we do not have any veterinarians at the city shelter. I welcome the opportunity for any of you that have any way that we can help our local community and our county. I'm open for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next three speakers are Kevin Lockhart, Tyrus Adams, and Mac McGonigal.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Kevin Lockhart. I'm a resident of Monroe County, been here all my life, and I want to talk to you today about this pervasive problem of filthy smut in our school districts, because you all work with the Monroe County School Board Association and the unions, and there is a lot of what I would describe as, and what a lot of people oppose and are protesting as, degenerative content, which is content that is filthy, it's pornographic, it has no academic value, it lends nothing to the content of the curriculum, and yet it's still being trafficked in through the library. So this all began when I foiled the district clerk in Webster, and I started to get some feedback from books that are teaching kids about gay sex. So here's one thing that they're teaching kids about. They're teaching kids how to hook up with groomers. This is real, this is in the library. They're promoting self-harm, how's that? This is a real book that your kid has access to. And these are the teachers in Webster now. They're promoting activism, upside down, broken crosses, rainbows. They got the Rainbow Club. This is all across the district. This is a real problem. They're spending money on this. Here's a very enthusiastic teacher in either the middle or the high school in Webster who's very excited to indoctrinate and groom the kids into the activism. It's political. This is sexual political. It's very, it's inappropriate. This is literally, this is pornography that I censored for you, but it's not censored in the books that are being paid for. Here's more pornography that the kids have access to in the library catalog because we don't have standards. This is filthy smut. I'm not going to expose any adult to, but the kids are exposed to it. And this is the receipt. So we have Shari, it's billed to Sherry Vernetti at the Webster Central School District, and then Jennifer Strieg is there's names. Oh, look here. Let's just read the names. Fairport Central School District, Beth Puckett at the middle school. And Sean McCabe, he's defending his cohorts in the Monroe County School Board.
Thank you. Time's up.
Good evening. My name is Mac McGonigal. I am a taxpayer, county and city. And the reason I wanted to speak to the legislature tonight is ARPA. And I know that phrase probably, you're probably sick of it by now, most of you, I would think. But I guess I don't know all there is to know about ARPA, but I am a retired guy. I have previous experience in the corporate world, managing projects, managing project managers, and what I see going on just kind of bugs me, I guess, if nothing else. And I guess the portion of it, just real quickly, it seems like in the beginning, there was a lot of mistakes made when ARPA first started. And, I guess you didn't have in the words of maybe the Stanley Cup kind of guys, which I watch all the time, you didn't have your game face on. So now, after all that happened, wouldn't you think your game face would be on now? So I see things on X where legislatures are having to write letters to the county in order to get what I would call information that should be at the fingertips of whoever is managing all this money. There shouldn't be a big need to write letters for it. Do you have to write a letter to find out what the balance of an award is, or find out the balance of the whole thing is? If I had a project manager working for me and they didn't have that information, they wouldn't be there long. Okay, simple fact. So there's a lot of it. I don't know. Obviously, there's politics going on that maybe I'm naive about. But as a citizen in Monroe County, you get a little sick of these kinds of funds not being managed properly, where there's a lot of need in the city. I don't know how the city is managing their portion, but I don't think that the county is doing a very good job at it, and I would hope that you get your game face on real quick. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, in this case, evening, working on night. I'm not used to daylight, this too new to. I'm glad to be back in Rochester. I've been away for a few minutes. I had a mild stroke in January, the last time I saw some of you. Doing great. I was supposed to speak here last month, but I was at high school commencement. I was the guest, didn't realize I was the guest of honor. Kind of shocking. But tonight I'm here to I'm getting tired of every time I come back to Rochester, I look up and down Main Street, I see homeless people sleeping in dark spaces that most of you guys wouldn't even put your dog at. I saw a couple this morning laying in the archway of the Holiday Inn. When is we going to learn how to be accountable for the people that we're serving? Right now, I see the city itself need to be audited. You've got a lot of things going on here no one is aware of. You've got tax rates going crazy. You got foreclosures going left and right. You're going to end up with a lot of lawsuits on your hand, whether you know it or not, because people are getting aware of what's going on, especially to some of our county elected officials that are hiding behind senators. We don't know what the heck is going to get right. But I'm scared. I'm worried that one of these days you're going to get caught with your pants down. And when it happens, don't run. Be ready to have it because it's coming. Albany is looking at Monroe County real tight. Have anybody paid close attention to all the damn secret things that are going on? All the organizations getting caught up in frauds? You think this is a joke? It's serious, and I'm going to join the Albany side because I'm going to help them. I am a taxpayer too, so is my sister. We're fighting right now to protect her home because of a bad foreclosure. Now we're finding out it did happen bad. But number one, we need to have accountability, full force, and Adam, we need to have a pure audit. I'm serious, because money is going everywhere and nobody seems to know, and I can't find none of it. Remember I told you I would love to help you now? You owe me one.
Yes.
All right. But ladies and gentlemen, just get it right. I mean, I'm willing to help you, but please, let's get it right. Like he said, we need new animal shelters.
Our last two speakers are Rachel Pryor and Elizabeth Henderson.
I am a homeowner in Henrietta. Henrietta did not offer any community cleanup this spring. I have since organized 2 community cleanups. We eliminated 289 pounds of litter from Veterans Memorial Park alone, with very little help. There is still a ton of litter in the park stream that flows into Red Creek, to the Erie Canal, to the Niagara River, to our Great Lakes. I cannot imagine the amount of litter currently in your district. I urge each of you to look within your district and see where you can support and implement ongoing community cleanups. Monroe County residents are equally affected and disgusted with the litter that fills our community. Let's take action together. The people's fight for a public power utility is far from over. Monroe County residents are waking up to the corporate greed that many of you support. Foreign-owned RG&E profited roughly $93 million from us in 2023 and were awarded a 34% distribution rate increase over the next 3 years. How does this happen? How does this help our community? We, the people, should own and control the things we need to survive. People thrive when their basic needs are met. Put the power back into the hands of the people. Together, let's take action. I love the people I provide direct care for, but I hate going to work. I hate the fact that my hard-earned U.S. tax dollars are being used to support and commit horrific atrocities. Going to support genocide and ethnic cleansing in Palestine. How many children must we murder? How much destruction must we support? The past week, they drove an aid truck into a refugee camp to commit a massacre. Each of you are allowing our tax dollars to support war crimes. First, stand for humanity. Second, stand for Monroe County residents. What programs and services are we going to have to cut this year? What new programs and services can't we fund this year? Together, let's take action. Daily, I wonder why most Americans aren't taking action, why most Americans aren't speaking up and demanding more. So far, I've come up with they are either too comfortable or too tired. Too comfortable in their privilege and can afford to look away. Too tired from working 2 to 3 jobs while showing up for their children, let alone themselves. Too tired from being oppressed over and over again. Together, let's take action and make Monroe County a better place to call home. What's it gonna take?
This concludes the public forum.
All right, thank you. Thank you. At this time, we will now recess the June 11th, 2024 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature, and will convene the Rochester Pure Waters District and Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District of the Pure Waters Administrative Board. Mr. Clerk, please note the attendance and read the first item on the agenda.
PWAB Agenda Item Number 1, Referral Number 24-0155, accepting engineering planning grant from New York State Facilities Corporation for Frank E. Van Laer Water Resource Recovery Facility Influent Improvements Project.
Moved by legislator Hugh Smith, seconded by legislator Mafucci. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
PWAB Agenda Item Number 2, Referral Number 24-0157, accepting engineering planning grant from New York State Facilities Corporation for Northwest Quadrant Water Resource Recovery Facility Aeration Improvements Project.
Moved by legislator Hugh Smith, seconded by legislator Mafucci. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. We will now recess the Rochester Pure Waters District and the Northwest Quadrant Pure Waters District and adjourn the Pure Waters Administrative Board. The June 11th, 2024 meeting of the legislature is now convened. We'll now proceed with the consideration of motions, resolutions, and notices. Will the clerk read the next item on the agenda?
Item number 1, Referral 24-0151, appropriating unassigned fund balance and authorizing contract with Monroe County American Legion Honor Guard for purpose of purchasing automated external defibrillators.
Moved by legislator Mafucci and seconded by legislator Uselson, as well as DeFlorio and McIntyre and Dondorfer. Is there, bless you, and any discussion? Legislator DeFlorio.
Madam President, I rise in support of this referral. Before giving my remarks, I would like to read into the record a message from Amy Fowle, Treasurer of the Monroe County American Legion Honor Guard. And should note that Amy wanted to join us tonight, but is homesick. So in her words, with over 40 years of service, the Monroe County Honor Guard has honored veterans with funerals which show a profound expression of gratitude and respect for their service and sacrifice. Funerals for veterans recognize their commitment to protecting the nation by acknowledging those who have dedicated their lives to preserving freedom and security. By providing dignified funerals, we ensure that their legacy is remembered and their contributions are celebrated. Now for my remarks. When the American Legion Honor Guard wrote to me requesting assistance in securing AEDs, I wanted to help. Their service to the community, specifically veterans, is incredibly important. Thankfully, under Monroe County Law 224, counties are permitted to contract with nonprofit organizations for public benefit services if, among other reasons, the organization engages in memorial or national patriotic observances. I can think of no better match than exactly what the American Legion Honor Guard does for our veterans who have passed away and their loved ones attending their funeral services. Many members of the Honor Guard and those who attend the funerals that they participate in are older. Statistically, older people are at higher risk of heart problems, and oftentimes cemeteries are in remote areas that would take time for first responders to reach. The American Heart Association says that the chances of survival are significantly higher when AED intervention occurs within 3 minutes of an incident. By helping the Honor Guard purchase these devices, someone experiencing a cardiac event could be treated immediately, potentially saving their life. I am proud to sponsor this legislation, and I hope all of my colleagues will vote to support this great cause for an outstanding organization. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item. Yes.
I'd like to move that we consider the agenda as a whole with the exception of items number 10, 11, 12, 37, 38, 39, and 40.
Thank you. Moved by Legislator Udelson, seconded by Legislator Brew. Yes. 1 second. Legislator Udelson, would you mind reading it again?
All items except for 10, 11, 12, 37, 38, 39, 40.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Is there a second on that?
Yes, it was Legislator
Legislator
Brew.
Brew.
No worries. Any opposed? Item carries.
We should be on item number 10. Item number 10, referral 24-0163, adopting 2025-2020 or 2030 capital improvement program.
Moved by Legislator Fraser, seconded by Legislator Hughes Smith. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 11, referral 24-0163, providing that resolution entitled adopting 2025-2030 capital improvement program be tabled.
Moved by Legislator Fraser, seconded by Legislator Hughes Smith. This is to table. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 12, referral 24-0163, fixing a public hearing on resolution entitled adopting 2025-2030 capital improvement program.
Moved by Legislator Fraser, seconded by Legislator Hughes Smith. This is to set a public hearing. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 37, referral 24-0187, authorizing contract with Cure Violence Global to provide consultation services for Monroe County Department of Public Health.
Moved by Legislator Hasman, seconded by Legislator Mafucci. Is there any discussion? Legislator Barnhart.
So, through the president to the administration, is Cure Violence part of the ARPA program? And are these ARPA dollars that we would be allocating tonight?
Through you, Madam President, the funding for the $35,000 study will not be funded through ARPA. We are planning on, we're funding this through county funding. We are looking at funding, I'm sorry, let me explain the process with this. Cure Violence will come in, do an analysis, and make a determination if their model will work here in Monroe County. Once we get that study back, we will then make a determination if we will use ARPA funding for it. Right now, it's our plan to do that, but at the time we were putting the referral together, and we're also doing an analysis as to whether we will be eligible for some state funding, because the state budget did make anti-violence funding available for that. And then there are also some procedural issues that we will have to do an analysis of as we go through this process in terms of procurement and timeframes and contracting issues. But it is our intentions to use ARPA funding for that procurement. But this study will be funded with local dollars.
Thank you for that explanation. Through the president to the administration, approved $4.2 million for Cure Violence in December of 2022. Am I understanding correctly that we are just now doing an analysis of whether we can spend this money and how?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. Could you repeat that?
Sure, I'll try to rephrase. Based upon what you just said, analysis, $35,000 initial contract, to determine how we're going to spend this, to spend money on Cure Violence and even whether it's feasible. And I guess my question is, we approved $4.2 million of funding for Cure Violence in December of 2022. It is now June of 2024. We have to obligate these funds by the end of the year. But are you saying that we're just now doing a feasibility study of whether the money we already approved nearly 2 years ago can even be spent?
Through you, Madam President, yes, we allocated that money previously. As part of our process, we have talked to some of our governmental partners to build support for this. We have done research with this. And as part of our due diligence, we have had many, many discussions internally. And we wanted to make sure that if we're going to go ahead with this, there were a couple issues we wanted to look at. We wanted to look at the bandwidth in the health department and to make sure that we had the ability to administer this program. We wanted to make sure that this was something that our other partners supported. And frankly, given our experience with some of the other ARPA programs, we wanted to make sure that our monitoring and compliance of this program was something that we had lined up and that we were able to do this. And again, given the nature of what we would envision this program to be, we thought it would be very important to have the appropriate guardrails in place to make sure that if we're going to go ahead with this program, that we had the guardrails in place to make sure that these funds were distributed properly, that they were administered properly, and that they were spent in a way that met the standards that we wanted to set for a program like this. And as I said previously about our decision to use local dollars to fund this study, we realize that we are up against a deadline, and frankly, and again, this has been part of our discussion with the leadership of both caucuses as we've talked about, as we've been discussing about how we're going to spend the remaining dollars in funding for this. We realize that we're up against a pretty tight deadline in terms of being able to accomplish this and get this under contract by year end. It's not a foregone conclusion that this report is going to come back and say that this is appropriate for our community. I think our guess is that the answer is going to be yes, that it is appropriate for our community. If it is appropriate for our community, it's our intention to aggressively pursue and meet that deadline of the December 31st in order to be compliant and meet that deadline for ARPA funding. If that is not possible, we have had discussions of how we could do that without ARPA funding, and that's something, again, with our discussion with leadership of both caucuses, you know, the list that was distributed to the leadership and I believe shared with the caucuses, I think we explained pretty clearly that, again, as we engage in these discussions, it's going to be a list of priorities from a programmatic standpoint. It's our goal to hit these programmatic goals with ARPA funding, Again, there are a number of hurdles that we have to meet. There's going to be procurement obstacles and processes. There's going to be contractual goals and obstacles that we have to meet. And, you know, how we get there, we want to get agreement on what the programmatic goals are. And again, we believe that we're going to be able to reach those programmatic goals primarily in a great majority of the way through ARPA funding. But if we get agreement on those programmatic goals, we're going to be able to, if we can't meet the ARPA deadlines, we're going to be able to do it with either seeking other grants of state funding. And again, something is clearly with the Cure Violence model is something that we would also look to fund through the budget process if, as we get into this process and as we get deeper into the study and into the process, we would look at doing it through the budget dollars. And again, we're looking at this from a programmatic goal and standpoint, and then we're going to figure out the funding. And again, I think we've made it clear that this is a work in progress, but just to come back to the issue of Cure Violence, we thought that it was very important for us as an administration to do our due diligence to make sure that the health department had the bandwidth to do this. And I would just say one thing in closing in terms of answering your question through you, Madam President, to the legislator. Frankly, another very big piece of this is the confidence that we have in the leadership that we have now at the health department, speaking for myself and also the administration. There is a night and day difference in terms of our relationship with the leadership of the health department. And frankly, we have tremendous confidence in the health department in terms of their ability to administer and to oversee a program like this. And we have a very high confidence level with this as we get further into the process.
For that explanation through the president to the administration, I understand that you want to do due diligence. For that, we're moving forward on a complete program. It seems like maybe that due diligence should have been done before we voted in December of 2022. When do you expect a report to come back from this consultant to see?
Through you, Madam President, it's my understanding that that report should be back in 3 months from when we get approval from this and when we execute a contract. And also in our discussions, we have made it clear, and not made it clear, but the law department is on board. And again, this is a very high priority, and we would expect as soon as we get authorization, if we get authorization from this, this will be a very high priority, and we should be able to complete that contract relatively quickly.
President, to the administration, what is the latest date that you foresee this body being able to approve contracts and authorize you to enter contracts and meet the federal deadline? Certainly we saw with the first round, it took some time to execute those contracts. Drop dead date that this body has to approve.
Through the president, certainly in some of the cases with ARPA contracts, it has taken several months, up to several months to complete contracts. We would, so speaking for from the law department perspective, we would certainly, it would be ideal if contracts were authorized this fall to give us time to execute by the end of the year. But as the Deputy County Executive said, this is anything ARPA related going forward is the top priority of the law department in terms of executing contracts. So if, as late as December, if there are approvals, we will get contracts authorized.
I just have one other question. Thank you. the president to the administration. The deputy county executive referenced a list of priorities and dollar amounts that was distributed to both caucuses today, adding up to about $28.5 million. Cure Violence was on there for $4 but we already authorized that $4.2 million. So I'm just curious if it's being double counted in terms of programs.
Through the president, it is not being double counted.
Through the president to the administration, can you please get us an accounting of how you came up with $28.5 million? I understand you told us that there's about $11 million that the legislature has never authorized, and then you said there were other things, programs that stopped where there were remaining funds, and other programs that aren't going to be starting. When I look at this, I see from the Q1 report, there's nearly $17 million in funds left over from COVID vaccination and FLIPS complex care. We're not doing the $4 million in the one-stop birthing center. That adds up to a lot more than $28.5 million. And that doesn't even include this cure that, I don't know, we voted on in 2022 and somehow appears on this list. I would really appreciate an accounting of how you got to $28.5 million in terms of what remains available for the legislature to allocate and reallocate. That would be very helpful. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 38, referral 24-0195, authorizing contracts with John W. Danforth Company and Concord Electric Corporation for Civic Center Garage fan replacement project.
Moved by Legislator Hugh Smith, seconded by Legislator Mafucci. Is there any discussion? Yes, Legislator Brew.
Legislator Brew, can you just use the mic?
To the President, to the administration, what is the time frame of this particular job?
Through the President, after authorization of the contracts and the funding, we have to go through an estoppel period, so we expect to issue a notice to proceed sometime at the end of July, and it's about a 12-month project, so by the third quarter of next year, it'll be complete.
Thank you. And as a follow-up question to the President, to the administration, will this result in any portion of the garage being taken out of service?
Through the President, there may be some areas where we'd have to move traffic around as they come into the garage, maybe move around a different area, but we don't expect at this point to take up any parking spaces or any other areas that would prevent parking in the garage.
Thank you. Yield.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 39, referral 24-0195.BR, resolution authorizing the issuance of $3,350,000 bonds of the County of Monroe, New York, to finance the cost of general infrastructure improvements to county buildings in and for said county at an estimated maximum cost of $3,350,000 and superseding the bond resolution adopted on December 15, 2020.
Moved by legislator Hu Smith, seconded by legislator Mafucci. Is there any discussion? Yes, legislator Brew.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. To the President, to the administration, what would be an example or two of general infrastructure improvements?
Through the president, general building improvements would include things like HVAC work, replacing heat pumps in an individual room, replacing hardware and doors throughout the buildings, some structural improvements, things of those natures. But in this particular case, what we're actually doing is reducing the amount of funding that was available in this capital fund, which is now going to be closed, and then reallocating that money over to the garage project.
Thank you. I yield the floor.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 40, referral 24-0195.BR, resolution authorizing the issuance of $4 million bonds of the County of Monroe, New York, to finance the cost of the reconstruction of the Civic Center garage or Civic Center complex in and for said county at an estimated maximum cost of $4 million and superseding the bond resolution adopted on December 15, 2020.
Moved by legislator Hugh Smith, seconded by legislator Mafucci. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. There being no unfinished business, legislator Udelson.
Madam President, I move that we stand adjourned until 6 p.m. on Tuesday, July 9th, 2024.
Okay. Second.